This is going to be a dinky little video about a backrooms level number 4. Now, there are several iterations of it. The basic idea is it's a office complex building, a lot like what people perceive level 0 as, or whatever you want to call it, level 1. Everybody gives it a different name because it started with 0. But this one has white walls, an apparent cement floor, or maybe a gray carpet, and you can see weather outside of windows. It has windows. I want to point out a couple of things about this from a in-universe perspective. It has lights, so there's electricity. Again, as I've mentioned in the past, a survivalist entering a building like this, post-apocalyptic scenario, whatever, would immediately look for resources. There's electricity. And again, there's a sprinkler head here and here. That means there's water pipes that can be broken into and tapped and have a tap put onto it. The next thing, and if it isn't really obvious, is it's raining, which means since you have a window, you can collect water. You now have air, water, electricity for making heat. Carry a hairdryer. I'm not kidding. A hairdryer plugged into a 120-volt outlet, 1,000 watts or so, will retain you some heat. It's described as being a cold environment, but there's electricity. Anyway, this is the animated GIF version. I was trying to look up what the original image is. And this is an example of one that could very well be synthetic, computer generated, although we don't know. Now I'm going to zoom in on it like this so it looks cool and it's animated. It's nice looking. And this is from the wiki page. I'll have an archived link below that goes to all my links because that's what I have to do so YouTube doesn't flag me. In fact, excuse me, there's another sprinkler. Now this actually is showing what I would call normal sprinkler spacing. Now I want to point out a couple of things here. This wall here comes back to this corner, which comes out, and then that one progresses. So this is sort of a zigzag wall. If this is a real world building, which I'm going to point out that it may be, you're looking at a wall that would be in a building that's trying to have an outer surface that looks interesting. In a big building, to keep the heating and cooling costs down, you don't want a lot of surface area. So you do straight flat lines and very boring buildings. And that's not very attractive to people sometimes. This gives you lots of interesting options. Now the other thing about it is this pattern repeats and then it comes to what looks like a dead stop back here with a flat facet to the building. So if you were looking at it from a map of an area, you'd look for a building with a jaggy surface on one side. Now I'm going to show you another version of the same image, but it's been upscaled. And I want to point out in the previous image and in this one, the water droplets were drawn too big. That's why, obviously, the image outside the window is very likely fake. I'm sorry, it probably is just a computer-generated thing. But in this upscale, we see it's still a really cool image and a really cool environment. And right here we see a sign there. Let's back that up again. We don't see that here. So someone went to the trouble of expanding on it and giving it some cool factor. And it's got outlets and a plate cover for a socket, which is obviously, that is really what it was. So someone did a really good job upscaling it, or this is the original image, or at least a variation of it. I'd love to find the original image, even if it is computer generated, although I don't know that. Now the next thing is, what possible buildings could it be? Well, I found maybe 2 sources. By the way, this is the upscaled animated image here that someone built from that. And yeah, it looks cool. Just wanted to show you all 3 iterations, and I'll have links to them. Now we're going to look here at an actual video done 6 years ago. I was looking for it, and because I used the low-scale version, I ended up here. So, yeah, this is a video. It's done by Mampara de Oficialism. It's a company that makes interiors, metal pieces that you then plaster over. And it's got a real backrooms level 4 feel to it. Just going to go through the pictures themselves. And these are obviously trying to be kind of office cubicle areas. They show it later on with it glassed in. This is the kind of work that people do to make it to where you have a little bit more privacy. And these are partitions that are then brought in and nail gunned to the floor and bolt drilled into the space. And here's your CO2 and or fire monitoring things and sprayers. And they're showing their work here. This is how they do the metal work. I thought this was interesting because, number one, this screams backrooms level, and this is what you end up with. Little offices with sliding or opening doors, glass doors or not. And this is the end product here. Now, the other one, they would have done it by just arranging the furniture to do this effect. But this is a thing, and almost all the websites that talk about or show you how they do this to make these little cubicles or cubbyholes or cubicles, they do seem to be not in English language. In the United States, they do open floor plans. It's about money. It's about making sure your boss doesn't spend a lot of it. And it's about quick turnover. People don't live in a building like this. They move eventually. Businesses shut down a lot. But I wanted to show you this because this is really close to it. Just wanted to bring it up. And the company that does it, not this physical building, but the company that does it, has a very peculiar thing on their website. So this is where they link to. It's hard to do it, but it's vintage decor something something. And over here, MARPE, Mapara. So anyway, what happens when we look around here? Now you can see a big show area, and that's obviously the midpoint of a building because the ceiling goes uphill. And then there's this little area here. Now I'm going to go click through to here and see if we can get in there. Oh, we're at the front of the business, and we look, and it's no longer a really big building. Okay, well I'm sure we can just go to the wall back here and we'll go through. Yeah, we do. So let's do the keyboard trick. One notch at a time. Okay, now we're moving around, and we go back, and there we are. We're still inside of that building. Somehow we've moved forward. How did that happen? Let's move a little more. It doesn't let me. Let's move this way. It lets me. Okay. What if I go back there? Let's try going back there. Bam. Okay, we're at the front of the store. And all of that stuff went away. Let's go back here just a short distance. Can't do it. Okay. This is what I call when I'm explaining this to people on the internet, I call it tunneling. This is an effect that you do in video games. It's also an effect that happens in Google Street View and Street Maps. I'm going to show you, hopefully, a really good example of it here if I can get this thing to do what I tell it to do. Over here. Okay, now we're at the wall. You notice it's a brick wall and it's not all that inviting looking. Now we shouldn't be able to go through this. We go through, and a little more. Now we turn around. We're back at the wall again. Okay, let's go this way. Okay, let's go this way one notch, another notch. Now let's try going through this way. Okay, back again. And it keeps jumping very erratically. And then suddenly we're through here. Let's go back again. Yeah. So this business inadvertently that did this video that shows almost exactly level 4. I mean, it really screams level 4. When you click the link to find out their business name, and actually on the web page it uses this video as an intro, it ends up that their website's Google Street View does actual no-clip. Just cute. Next, there's this building that's associated with an image that is almost identical to it. And again, Google Street View, no-clip mode, blah, blah, blah. You go in here, it has only a few areas that look interesting. But it's one of the locations that's listed as a building. This specific building has an entire floor that looks exactly like number 4. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring it up. And it's called the Energy in Indonesia building. And images of it show several of the floors looking identical and having a very similar floor plan to our original image here. So yeah, very interesting. It was fun trying to find the origin story for this video or for this photo. Couldn't find it, but instead I found some really cool architects who are thinking outside of the box and making buildings a lot like this. Anyway, RFC, RFI, if any of you know where this image originally was taken at, because it was probably just a static image, not an animation. If it's computer generated, great, I don't know. If it's a real world image, I'd love to know where this was taken at, because I'd love to see this building. And by the way, some of the peculiarities about this really does kind of scream it's a real building. And then someone just added animations onto it just because they could. Because odds are, that's what it was. It was probably like that. By the way, if you're not aware of it, the sun's from an angle down here. It might have been an overcast day. And someone could have just gone through and knit it, very carefully cut out the background and then put in the animated stuff. But again, I don't know. But yeah, the water droplets are too big for that to be real. Anyway, just a silly video. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And if you know where this image was originally from, please post it. I can't